The Arnold Strongman and Strongwoman Classic is over for another year. Auntie Liz, first time we've had the men and women competing on stage at the Arnold Strongman Classic, Strongwoman Classic this year. Amazing competition, amazing weekend. So good to see so many fantastic athletes, so many fans, some amazing results. And as always, after a competition, we're going to give people our thoughts.
Yes, we had so much fun. And Jan Todd, Steve Slater, and the whole Arnold's team do such a good job of this show every single year. Rogue, they're just so professional.
They make it run kind of effortlessly, don't they?
They make it look effortless, but we know that it's not. We know so much goes into it. And I really loved the stage this year.
It looked cool.
It was a much bigger stage and it was very dramatic with like the backlit. And I just really liked it. I thought it was really professional.
It was so good to watch, and it started off with the Wheel of Pain.
Yes.
Now, the Wheel of Pain is just an epic looking bit of kit. And the star of this event for me was Rebecca Roberts. Across both genders, men and women, Rebecca Roberts' performance on that was unbelievable.
Yeah, when you think how much further she went than second place. And you know, I had in my head, right, this is going to be great for the sort of levery athletes, the taller athletes, more body weight behind them. But let's take a second to appreciate Donna Moore as well, who came third in this. I thought that was a really impressive effort by Donna.
Yeah, Donna really started this competition well. You know, Donna's one of the best we've ever seen in the strongwoman world. And she can technically compete as a master now, yet still hanging with the best. In certain events, she's still holding on. The sport keeps evolving every single time these ladies compete. It's quite mind-boggling right now, the rate that they're getting better at and how far that they can go. But Donna, one of the greatest, and yes, a third place finish on the Wheel of Pain.
Slightly surprising start for Victoria Long, who I expected to be extremely good on this event.
Yeah, she's just so good at everything. Normally you kind of expect that, and she was the big favourite going into the competition at the first, but 7th place on this first event, it left the contest wide open for the rest of the athletes. So before the Arnolds, if you watched our previous video, you would have seen Auntie Liz's predictions for the Arnolds. Now, if you watch that video carefully, I didn't add any predictions for this contest because I had quite a few athletes competing. I did agree with Auntie Liz's top 3 though.
Thank you.
Overall, I thought it was very, you know, it was a good prediction, and she kind of put these scores together off camera. You mentioned it on camera.
Well, it was such a difficult competition just to choose names out of. So I literally went through every single result and scored them how I thought they would perform so that I could give them an overall score. And I'm going to share that with you now and compare it to the actual results because I think it's quite interesting.
It is quite interesting. So on camera now, you can see there's a prediction section and the actual results. So this is the Wheel of Pain, and Liz went for Mitch Hooper, taking first on this one, Kilishkovsky second, Trey Mitchell third. What's
interesting, I got the top 3 correct, I just in a wrong order.
You did.
The only real standout, I mean, Thomas Evans, I have to apologise in advance. Amateurs, well, the guy who won the amateur competition, who then goes into the pro show, historically they do not do well. There's a couple of rare exceptions like Mike Jenkins and Mateusz Kilishkovsky.
And to be fair, I mean, Thomas Evans did fantastic last year on the amateur scene, but his last competition was OSG, where he didn't perform as well as maybe some of those other shows. That being said, the progress that he's made from then to now,
it's mind-blowing.
I was super impressed with him all weekend.
But as you can see, no surprises. Mateusz Kilishkovsky won this event. He was actually a little bit disappointed straight afterwards because he was one of the first guys to go out and he didn't think it was going to be enough to hold.
He's done more in the past, hasn't he? But it was enough to take the win on this occasion. And what a return to the Arnold Classic for Kilishkovsky.
Absolutely. And Trey Mitchell, we also suspected he'd do very well after doing so well on the Titans turntable at World's Strongest Man. Not a good start for Bobby Thompson. A real uphill battle for him from there on in, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, training had gone so well for this competition for Bobby, but this was one of the events we were a little bit worried about. And yeah, I mean, you had him down at 9th on this. He ended up coming 10th. He had an uphill struggle.
He did.
But he clawed his way back.
He did, but we'll go into that in a minute. So
event number 2 was the log press. Now this was a brand new log made by Steve Slater. It's weighed about 122 kilos in the end. A little bit heavier than the athletes were expecting. Obviously with this log event there was 2 separate logs. You had the heavy log, which would be any amount of reps on the lighter log. If you failed the heavy log, you got the opportunities to go and try the lighter log. Andrea Thompson, absolutely incredible performance on this, as we expected.
Yeah.
Trained with us a few weeks before the competition.
Freaked out when she found out it would be a 90-second long event.
Yeah, and I was like, no, this is a good thing. You don't have to rush.
Yes.
And we just tried to make sure she was ready to pace herself to hit 5 reps. The athlete that really impressed me, other than Andrew on this one, was Olga.
Me too. Yeah.
Olga did incredibly well. I didn't expect Olga to hit this many reps. So I'm kind of convincing Andrea, oh, you need 5 reps, that will be enough. Olga kind of had me on the edge of my seat. She did so well. And Inez as well was exceptional. She's a great log lifter, but she requires a lot of explosive power through your body, which tends to start making the legs feel a bit weaker. She ended up slipping, I think, and she ended up hurting her leg. But these women are just getting stronger all the time. And I'm looking forward now. Me and Andrew have been talking about this, about her training for a 150 kilo log or 330 pounds. That is the goal. That's the number she's got her eyes set on.
Now, Victoria Long was the only other athlete to hit the heavy log, and she managed 2 reps. I was very impressed with Sam Bellevue on the lighter log, because obviously she's a lighter athlete herself. Yeah. And I had been intrigued to see Tamara Walcott, to see what she could do, but unfortunately you could tell that the technique just wasn't there, was there?
Yeah, Tamara coming over from powerlifting, world powerlifting champion, and it was all kind of up in the air of how good she'd be. Clearly an incredible deadlifter, which we'll look at in a second. She did struggle with the strongwoman events. She needs more time kind of learning the technique. She couldn't even clean either log, actually. No. So, you know, clearly got strong pressing power, but right now she's in a phase where she just needs more time developing the skills and techniques and specific strengths that you need for strongman. With the men, we continue these predictions and the actual results. So this one was a shock. I think everyone was expecting a huge performance from Luke Stoltman on this event. Kind of saying he was a little bit dizzy.
Yeah, he got dizzy when he cleaned the
log. Came in, these are his own words, he came in a bit too heavy.
Yeah.
He feels he needs to get a little bit fitter, ready for World's Strongest Man. You could clearly see if you watch his training videos, the power is there. But sometimes when you're in a competition, full competition, you can be too big. You've got to do these other events, and an event like the Wheel of Pain is very demanding on the whole body.
Yeah.
And I think that just took it out of him. Didn't recover in time for the log, and then as he cleaned it, he was seeing stars, didn't have that power, and what should have been a real banker event for someone like Luke ended up being a bit of a disaster.
It was a disaster in the grand scheme of things, and it's hard not to feel bad for Luke. Trey Mitchell, though, it shouldn't be a surprise, because we've seen him win the log at the Shore Classic. We know how good he is.
I don't think it's a surprise. You know, I think when we looked at this, you're kind of thinking Luke Stoltman, Bobby Thompson, Trey Mitchell. They are the top 3 log lifters on paper in this competition.
Yeah, and Bobby was right up there in second place. I know is really disappointed not to get that 4th rep. Mitch Hooper, though, he needed 2. He absolutely needed 2 to hang with the top guys, but
I expected 2 from Mitch.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expected 3. I don't think even he deep down expected 3.
I think so. You look at these events pre-comp and you kind of think in your head, best case scenario, worst case scenario. Yeah, we were hoping for 4 from Bobby. Referee took that last rep away from him. He wasn't too happy about that. No. But, you know, second place, kind of where you had him predicted. Yeah. But we know he's capable of 4 as well, watching that. So he's in a good place with the log lift right now.
So 4 athletes managed 1 rep on the heavier Austrian oak, including one of my favourite reps of the whole competition, Wide Pavlo.
Yeah, Wide Pavlo has so much power and strength. Still lacking a little bit in terms of technique on certain events. I think we should also point out that this was actually a PB for Tom Stoltman, a competition PB. He's never hit a 195 log before, and people are saying he wasn't in shape. He's got issues with his deadlift and his hips causing him problems lifting weights off the floor, but he came in and he hit a PB on one of the events. So it wasn't in terrible shape.
No, it wasn't a disaster.
No. And also, I guess it wasn't necessarily a surprise, but it shows that he's still not back to his best, as Kiliashkovsky only managing 1 rep.
Yeah.
He's had multiple surgeries on that tricep, and you can see in his face it's disappointing him.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. When you know how good you've been, and it's really knocked his confidence more than anything, and that's hard to go into a competition, isn't it? Scared of re-injuring something.
But the end of day 1 was perfect for Trey Mitchell. Took 1st place on this event, 2nd place on the Wheel of Pain. It was exactly where he needed to be, but he knew there was 1 question mark coming. Well, you knew there was 1 question mark.
I knew there were 2.
Yeah. So start of day 2 was the elephant bar deadlift. We've seen this a number of times at the Arnolds now, even with the ladies. We've seen it before in the Rogue record breakers. Tamara Walcott was the record holder going into this event for coming over from powerlifting. That is really how she got this invite. Last year she did the deadlift world record on this bar, and we expected big things from her. I was incredibly impressed with so many of the athletes on this event, particularly Tamara and Victoria Long and Andrea Thompson. Those two, or those three, were head and shoulders above the rest. But Victoria had so much pressure being the favourite. She needed big points after that first day, and she came in and delivered. I got to say, you know, we got a new world record here with 650 pounds for tied with Victoria Long and Tamara, but Andrea and Victoria looked like they could have done a lot more.
Andrea could have done a lot more.
Victoria could have done a lot more.
Yeah, as well. She was at a bit of a disadvantage because on the second lift, when she went to choose her numbers, she couldn't see what Victoria was going to choose. So once Victoria chose her second lift, which was higher than Andrea's, she had to go into that third lift blind. And it was a case of, because Andrea broke the world record with her third lift. So it was a case of break it and, you know, comfortably break it, take the risk and do a much bigger jump, not knowing what Victoria would then choose, and risk actually dropping down to somewhere more mid-pack. Yeah. So it's you're right, tactics come into play, and it's very stressful and tense back there.
They do. It was a tough one because I saw how well the second lift moved. It wouldn't have changed anything in the grand scheme of things anyway. So, but Victoria and Andrea, I think if it was a traditional kind of just last man standing, rising bar, it would have been interesting to see how high they could have pushed. Yeah. I think, I don't know. I mean, I think they would have both got close to 700 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, I would really like to see the Deadlift World Championships done this way, to be honest, because then we don't have all of the split points on the same lifts. We get to see lots of different PBs and national records, and there's so much that can be done with it. Yeah, and, you know, if 505 isn't happening, like, why can't we see 480 or 481, 482?
See, like, exciting competition still.
Yes.
Rather than just going for that one number.
Exactly. So I would love to see it done this way. Giants Live, if you're watching, please.
Anyway, perfect start for Victoria. What she needed after a poor, for her standards, day one.
Yeah.
So back over to the men's, and we had another big surprise. Pavlo Nekonechny, who was probably the competition favourite going into the deadlift, unable to get a first lift on the board.
Yeah, so we spoke to Pavlo on Sunday evening, and oh my goodness, first off, his English has improved massively, hasn't it?
It really has.
Like, almost bizarrely. But we asked about the knee, and he said, now I do think this is maybe a bit of a translation issue. He said he had a blocked knee from all of his travel because it had taken him like 36 hours to get there because he has to drive to Poland, etc. But he said he's not injured. He feels fine now. The problem is, he picked a really big opener for himself. And
I think experience, maybe just if you feel it's a little bit off in the warm-ups, you know, if he decided, okay, I'm going to focus on the whole competition, you take that drop in terms of top end points and you get the safe lift and secure yourself 6-7 points.
Yeah.
You don't always have to go for that kind of PB, massive lift. And that's where experience comes into play. You know, normally he'd lift that opener no problem.
Oh, yeah.
But in competition, things always don't go to plan. So maybe just experience for the future. If things aren't feeling that good in the warm-up, have that sense to think, okay, I need to drop this number and come in a bit safer and get some points on the board. So yeah, Pavlo, big surprise there. Then it was kind of a battle between mainly people that you'd expect to be in there.
Yeah.
Rob Kearney, unbelievable deadlifting.
Impressive, yeah.
You know,
I massively underestimated him.
There's a lot of question marks about, is it a deadlift, isn't it a deadlift? In strongman, it's about getting the weight from A to B. In powerlifting, it would not count. So we make that clear, but this isn't powerlifting. This is strongman, and his technique is allowed, and he's mastered it very, very well.
It works for him. It's the way he gets it up. But talking about lockouts and all this kind of thing, how much has Mitch Hooper improved his deadlift?
He has indeed. His lockout has got a lot stronger, and he really put a lot of pressure on Bobby to put in a hell of a lift to take the win.
Yes.
Bobby Thompson took the win, lifting 447 kilos. Now, these numbers are down on some of the numbers we've seen in the past. It's usually the case after the Wheel of Pain anyway. Yeah. But, you know, we had Jerry Pritchett, we had JF Karan, we had Hafthor Bjornsson, some incredible deadlifters in the past. I'd say right now, as a whole group, the deadlifting is a little bit down, but still good solid deadlifting by the top three particularly. Trey Mitchell just looked slightly off on this one, I thought. Someone else I was mega impressed with was Kevin Ferris.
Yes.
Stepping in as a last-minute alternate.
We say last minute. He's known for a long time.
He has, but I think he stopped training for this.
He started training for Worlds.
Yeah. But he came in and hit a PB on this.
Yeah, he did. So. Someone else who really surprised me, because I know he was nervous about this, Thomas Evans, he hit a massive PB in this competition.
Thomas Evans has just been amazing all weekend. I think everyone was super impressed with this guy. Not only a great athlete, he's turned up in great shape, but a really respectful person backstage, lovely family, lovely guy, and it was a pleasure to be around him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Tom Stoltman, things did not go his way on the deadlift, does it?
No, Tom, we saw at the Rogue Invitational a few years ago, is very solid on this deadlift, and his training, you know, if you've seen the Stoltman's videos, has not been going so good for him on lifting things up from the floor. He has a hip issue, which he really needs to address going into World's Strongest Man.
It's not long to address it, though, is there? It's like 4 weeks of solid training.
Hopefully he can get it sorted. But at the moment, it's not looking good for the defending champ from World's Strongest Man. He needs to sort this, though, because at the moment, it's going to cost him too many points. If he can get his deadlift back to where it was, then he's going to become a big threat again. But right now, picking up that frame, picking up this, you could see there is an issue. So event number 4 was what we thought was the unspunnen stone that Auntie Liz had practiced for months saying. Got us changed to the Steintossen throw.
Steintosser.
It wasn't that, but yeah, the throwing event. And when you look at various different types of throwing events, this one, I think, you know, the Arnolds are great at bringing new events, and it's always good to see new events. I didn't think this one worked, and I don't often say that. You know, there's been events that I think on paper don't look so good, and then I've really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Just from a viewer's point of view, or from my own point of view as a fan, I think it was a little bit too repetitive. It was very hard to follow the distances. There was no like clear marker or anything like that. The camera angles may be slightly off, and I think it just went how you'd expect with, especially on the women's side, like the taller, more rangy athletes seem to do a little bit better, and very few people kind of jostled after that first throw.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, okay, the first throw's gone, nothing's really going to change after this. I mean, I do enjoy throwing events, and they can look quite exciting.
Yeah.
Just, I felt this one didn't have that dynamic element, and it kind of just went a bit flat when you were trying to call it. But maybe that's because I had to sit through 60 throws.
we all sat through 60 throws, Lozzie. You're not special there.
Let's take a look at how the men did as well. You had a lot of fun putting these together, didn't you, Lizzie?
I did. And one thing obviously we should mention is the fact that Maxime was in my predictions, because I did those before he was forced to pull out. Maxime and Kevin aren't really similar athletes, except for maybe on the frame carry, the timber carry.
Yeah.
I thought Maxime would do well here. If I was predicting Kevin, I would have probably predicted that he wouldn't do so well, being a smaller athlete. But yeah, Mateusz Kiliszkowski, I shouldn't be surprised, because the second he picks up a natural stone, it's like magic, isn't it, Lozzie?
He seems to be very good with any type of stone.
He is. He loves his stones. But Thomas Evans was the person here that really surprised me. I just didn't... You know, I didn't know what to do with Thomas for the most part in my predictions, I won't lie. So, you know, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, as we said, Thomas was just a superstar all weekend.
Yeah.
Mitch Hooper with that consistency, always being top 3. I know you had him down as first, but he was just solid all weekend.
He was. He came out for the first one with his little hat on. He looked so weird. But I think like...
He quickly got rid of that.
Yeah, well, it rolled forward slightly on his first attempt, and it just didn't go nearly as far as he wanted, obviously. He was one that massively improved on his second throw.
I think the main talking point with the men's side was Trey Mitchell dropping points.
Yeah, he dropped quite a lot, and, you know, I kind of expected that he would. Bobby did a lot better than... well, actually, he didn't do a lot better. I had him in 6th place. But yeah, Trey. And do you know what? I just don't know why, but I had an image in my head of Trey with his arms up in the air, and I didn't think they went that high. Because he's all lats and shoulders, and he's just massive, isn't it? I thought, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was right.
You're getting concerned about your images and thoughts. But yeah, Kiliszkowski taking the win. Thomas Evans with an unbelievable 2nd place there. Mitch Hooper showing it doesn't matter what you throw at him, he's going to be there there or thereabouts. So the final event was the women's frame carry. Now this is an iconic event that we've seen on the men's side, always very heavy and challenging on the men's. I think looking at the results, maybe the promoters didn't expect these women to be as strong as they are.
No,
because literally almost all of them flew up the ramp, starting off with Hannah Lindsay, who was literally up that ramp at rapid pace. Kind of caught everyone off guard, and she hadn't had the best competition for her, but showing what she's capable of on that type of event. So great to see her finish strong.
I think, like, really, the results are too close, aren't they? You don't want split seconds separating people in a 5-event competition, especially a heavy competition.
Yeah,
like
Arnold is always known as being heavy. I think maybe an extra 50, 60 pounds next year could be added to that, and we'd still see some solid times, but I think it would just add that element of a bit more grip challenge for these ladies. I mean, when you look at those times, 6.36 seconds for Victoria Long, unbelievable. Rebecca wasn't too far behind, 6.83. Andrea Thompson on 7.93.
But then the absolute disaster, unfortunately, was Olga, who went out last. Now, it was so close at the top. She had to come
She was
first
leading
or
going
second.
into this event, wasn't she?
She was, and she had to be first or second to hold on to first place. But she dropped it, and she ended up being the slowest woman who did finish the timber carry, just ahead of Tamara Walcott. So yeah, it was a disaster. I actually saw her off at the podium completely.
So there we have it, guys. The women's competition ended up being Victoria Long winning the Arnold Strongwoman Classic. She won the Arnolds last year. This is the first time the women competed on the pro stage, and there was a lot of pressure for her. You know, there's a lot of talk of, I was putting pressure on her, other people were. And, you know, it's the first time she's really been noticed as well by a much, much bigger audience. So lots of pressure. Poor first day. To come back like she did, that shows a true champion.
Rebecca Roberts. Now, there's a lot of talk, obviously, about Rebecca was only the alternate. She got her opportunity a couple of weeks ago when Nadia Stowers pulled out. But Rebecca did train for this competition from day one. The second she found out there was a chance.
Let's also remind people that don't know, Rebecca lost her partner late last year.
Yeah.
This has been keeping her going. The thought of being invited to the Arnolds was just everything to keep her getting out of bed in the morning, keep motivated. And to do that as an alternate is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So good to see her get the call up, and what a performance.
Yeah.
And then obviously we're super proud of Andrea Thompson. Amazing performance by Andrea. She kept fighting hard. Andrea's one of those athletes, well, like so many of them, they doubt themselves, they question whether they're good enough, and she kept fighting all the way through. You know, after the 4 events and the throw, she kind of lost a few points on that throw. She was disappointed. I was talking to her, getting her head in the zone to keep fighting, and I was so proud that she finished strong on the frame carry. And another podium, a big international for our baby.
Our baby. Rounding off the top 5 then, we had Olga, bless her, in 4th place. I wanted so much better for Olga than that sort of finish, you know, because she's just so consistent, and it was a mishap.
No, she's the current world's strongest woman. It just shows the standard of these contests.
Yeah, and then in 5th place, rounding it off, Inez Calaschio. So I got the top 5 right, just in a different order. We don't need to talk about how wrong I was, because I can't remember.
So on the men's side, I know Auntie Liz is very proud of these predictions.
I am proud of this one. But let's just quickly go through it to see why. Matej, I think that's an easy pick for 1st place on this event. Maxime obviously is not there, but I would have swapped him out with Kevin Ferris in the predictions.
Kevin is exceptionally good when it comes to grip and farmers and frames and those type of events.
He's brilliant.
You definitely have him up there.
Yeah. Mitch Hooper, 3rd place, as predicted. I got Wyatt Pavlo and Tom Stoltman the wrong way round. But then everyone else, I got bang on, Lozzie. Can you believe that? Bang on.
I'm going to guess your Thomas Evans was just lucky.
Thomas was very lucky. I mean, I thought he can't... Oh, God, this can sound awful. He can't be worse than Trey and Rob. They know what I mean. They know I say it with love on this event.
I'm sure they do.
Yes.
But yeah, you look at those results, and, you know, we've got that information to go off. Kiliashkovsky proving once again what an athlete.
He wasn't happy though, was he?
No, he was again slower than he has been at his best, which shows the kind of athlete he is. He's never happy unless he's hitting PBs.
Yeah. He holds himself to a very high standard.
And it's hard when you're coming back from injuries, because you almost have to accept that I'm a new athlete.
Yeah.
And he needs to do that, I think, for himself. But it's just good to see. I mean, 3 wins out of 5 events.
Yeah.
He must be up there with the most wins ever at the Arnolds.
Yeah, he's on a list.
I'm sure he's on a list, but he's not yet managed to take the title. Shall we quickly look at the overall? Come on then, Lizzie, show us what you've got.
Now, a couple of things through my predictions. Pavlo zeroing on the deadlift, Luke not hitting the heavy log, obviously, the fact that Maxime wasn't even there, and Tom Evans being as good as Tom was. But I've got them both on the screen, my predictions versus the results. The points split, it was much more even than I expected. This is very even points. You don't often see at the Arnold someone come in last place with 20 points, which shows how close it was. But Mitch Hooper, 42, 41 and a half. Very happy with that. Kilishkovsky in second place, also half a point out. Yeah. Tom Stoltman, you know, maybe I'm a dreamer. I was basing off of Tom coming in better shape.
We were hoping Tom to be in more like World's Strongest Man shape from last year. Yeah. Unfortunately, not quite in that shape. Still solid, like I said, hit a PB on the log, still looking good in certain events. Yeah. But there's work to do if he wants to defend his World's Strongest Man title later this year.
Absolutely. Trey Mitchell, now I had him in 6th when he came 4th, but I actually got the points bang on. So it was just the fact that the split was wrong was why I got his placing wrong. But to be honest, overall, I'm quite happy with that. I feel like, I mean, apologies to Thomas Evans, because I'm his biggest fan. Last year, after he won the Amateur Arnolds and the Shore Open, I was like, this guy, we need to get him here, here, here. And then he just didn't quite bring it together on the day at OSG. But I think, based off of that,
big things are coming for him.
I want to see him at World's Strongest Man. I'm not going to lie. We've got 2 spots left over, and I can't think of any athlete that can go that would do better than him at World's Strongest Man. He's proven that
he's more than good enough. He's beaten the World's Strongest Man there. Exactly. He's beaten Rob Kearney. He's beaten Wide Pavlo, Luke Stoltman,
and Kevin
Ferris. They are all
going to World's
athletes.
Strongest Man.
Well, Rob's not going, but they're all athletes that have done podiums in international comps, won big competitions, and Thomas Evans has finished above them all. Amazing result by Mitch Hooper.
Of course.
Winner of the Arnold Strongman Classic. It was his last competition in what was his rookie year. His next competition will be a full year, where he's back at World's Strongest Man.
Technically, because they've moved Worlds into April, it's still within the 12 months.
I don't think we can give him that one. He's already competed at Worlds once.
All right then.
But yeah, he's a first timer at the Arnolds. He's taken the win, and he wasn't out of the top 3 on any events. He didn't actually win an event though.
No.
But just that consistency, showing you how important it is to be a great strongman. Kilishkovsky taking 3 event wins, just a couple of weaker events costing him big points. Trey Mitchell, honestly, he's an amazing strongman, and if you threw Atlas Stones in there as the last event instead of the frame, could have been a completely different competition. But we say it all the time, events matter.
And, you know, I would not be surprised at all to see Trey Mitchell come out as the World's Strongest Man 2023. No grip event in the final.
The competitions moving forward are all exciting.
Very nerve-wracking stuff.
Right, guys, hope you enjoyed the Arnolds as much as we did. Hope you've enjoyed this wrap-up video. Don't forget, like, share and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys next time. Stay strong.